welcome. We're all solitary human. We chuckle, we love and, per well-known preschool writing, everybody craps. Our bodies are unbelievable works of nature, so intricate and integral that the endowment of life is without a doubt miraculous. On the other hand, we're a lot of shaved primates. Any male on an inappropriate side of 40, such as myself, loses hair where there ought to be and gains hair where there shouldn't be. Skin lists, spines twist, teeth decay. All tokens of the excellent incongruity of the body human, its synchronous magnificence and grossness. We're all human and, accordingly, all sickening. Here are 10 models. 10. A disgusting debut. We come into this world a grisly, gagging, vile wreck. Conceiving an offspring is so shockingly nauseating that it's mind-blowing anybody actually has more than one kid. It begins with a spout, the supposed water breaking that is a long ways from simply water. No, an ideal opportunity to get the stain remover, since it's the ideal opportunity for blood souring, frequently upchuck prompting withdrawal shouts on the way to the hospital. After a few horrifying hours, it's an ideal opportunity to push. In any case, before we push out an infant, we push piss. At times a lot of it, and at water gun level speed. Try not to be humiliated, it happens to every gracious, you simply poop everywhere on the birth bed. No concerns, and let the specialist cut the space between your vagina and rectum with the goal that lesser is spared the difficulty of in a real sense tearing you another one. And at that point, congratulations. It's a blood and sludge secured outsider with something looking like curds sticking to its body. That is called vernix, an oily froth-like substance that secures an embryo's skin in the womb. Time to cut the blood and discharge filled line. What's more, ideally the placenta came out at this point. If not, no issue. A medical attendant will affectionately pack her entire hand in your damaged vagina and strip it off your cervix. In the interim, the specialist will clear the infant's aviation routes before it suffocates in its mom's introduction to the world discharge. It's a marvel of life, and it's not pretty. 9. Wait, there's something on your face. Goodness, don't bother. It's only huge number of minuscule bugs. Compared with other body parts, the human face has bigger pores and more various sebaceous, oil, organs. The additional alcoves and crevices are delight pockets for tiny vermin, who carry on with their whole lives, eating, mating, pooping and kicking the bucket, on our appearances without us actually taking note. 2 types of face parasites make our heads their homes, Demodex follicularum, imagined, and Demodex brevis. Otherwise called eyelash vermin. The D. follicularum assortment will in general dwell in pores and hair follicles, and are an incessant reason for men's whiskers dandruff, one more motivation behind why whiskers are absurd things as a rule. They by and large aren't unsafe, however they've been known to compound existing skin conditions, for example, rosacea. D. brevis incline toward the more profound, semi-subcutaneous sebaceous organs. Like their gross cousins, they are additionally normally innocuous, however a bigger than normal pervasion can cause redness and harsh patches. They likewise aren't restricted to the face, with the chest and neck among their other most loved spots. Face parasites are generally straightforward and, regardless of whether they weren't, would be too little to even consider seeing with the unaided eye. At about 0.3 mm long, it would take 5 grown-ups to extend over the top of a pin. While both are authoritatively arthropods, a gathering that incorporates jointed-legged creatures, for example, creepy crawlies and crabs, California Academy of Sciences entomologist Michelle Trotway noticed that they look sort of like thick-set little worms. How consoling. 8. To dust we shall return. People spread their moderate rotting grossness basically all over the place. As confirmed by hardwood floors, shelves and lampshades, we are strolling, shedding sacks of waste. Unmistakably something other than earth. House dust is a stomach-turning melange of apparel filaments, dust vermin, pieces of dead bugs, soil particles, dust and, well, us. Sloughed off skin cells and hair complete the revolting recipe. Every minute, the normal human sheds around 30,000 dead skin cells. In the event that seems like a ton, this is on the grounds that the canvas-turned body is broad, as our biggest organ, skin, represents about 15% of body weight. The normal grown-up has 21 square feet of skin, which gauges 9 pounds and contains as much as 300 million skin cells. A solitary square inch has around 19 million cells, so 30,000 is a drop in the organic bucket. Still, that is a great deal of dander on the Davenport, to such an extent that dead skin commonly contains a lot of the residue in our homes, once in a while the greater part. Additional appalling still, the roughly 1,000 sorts of microorganisms known to call our epidermis home drops off alongside our skin, flowing around the house alongside it. On a far bigger, however similarly yucky scale, dead skin is liable for an expected 1 billion tons of residue in the world's climate. 7. Potty animal. During their lifetimes, a great many people burn through one entire year sitting on the latrine. Through the span of a year, grown-ups scrap a normal of 320 pounds of dung, and flush out enough pee to fill 2 bathtubs. The yellow splashy stuff is extensively less gross than the earthy-colored, or dark, or off-green, bloopy stuff. While not actually sterile as the late, extraordinary Rip Torn accepted, pee's capacity to frame alkali when matured gives it a net clean impact. Truth be told, antiquated Romans utilized it to wash garments and brighten their teeth. Space explorers on the International Space Station have a pee filtration framework, which reuses pee into drinking water that probably tastes like Bud Light. An unmistakable, rank difference, human dung is some foul-ass business. After its harmless principle fixing, water, our crepes contain dead microbes that helped us digest our food. Some prize they got: protein, undigested food buildup, cell linings, fats, salts, and substances like bodily fluid removed from the digestive organs and the liver. It's additionally alive. Our dung contain living microorganisms that assume a fundamental function in the human body's microbiome, including our gastrointestinal parcels. The exact attributes of the microscopic organisms in our crap are generally directed by diet, and are likewise key factors in that quite alluring smell. 6. Ladies' worst, women's flatus stink more than men's. This present one's for the women. Or rather, from them. My truly held conviction that young lady flatulates are fouler than fellow flatulates has been unequivocally demonstrated by, who we can just accept that are, the best of researchers. This is no longer affirmation inclination, it's affirmation bias. It's authentic. Ladies' fart smells more terrible than those honked by their male counterfeit partners. For realclearscience.com, in contemplates led by prominent tooting analyst Michael Levitt, ladies' farts reliably donned altogether more noteworthy centralizations of hydrogen sulfide. Scent judges have affirmed that, at comparative volumes, this means a recognizably more awful smell contrasted with men's farts. Already, the PC police on Twitter are praising the destroying of the sexist microaggression he who smelt it gave it. It's she who smelt it, you misogynist bastards. Regardless the sex of the backside wrongdoer, our farts have 3 commonplace scent causers. Hydrogen sulfide delivers farts agonizing, brand name spoiled eggs fragrance, while methanethyl produces notes of decaying vegetables. Dimethyl sulfide finishes the crap pottery by including an unpretentious sweetness. The speed of a fart leaving the butt is around 10 feet for each second, generally 9.5 kilometers per hour. The normal human farts 14 times each day, with a consolidated volume fit for blowing up a medium-sized inflatable. This volume can be estimated with a charming contraption called a rectal catheter. I kid you not. 5. Waxing unpoetic. Earwax is something whose effectively sickening name gives a false representation of the way that it's much more appalling than its name proposes. Formerly known as cerumen, the body delivers the clingy stuff to safeguard and ensure the hearable waterway in an assortment of ways, including keeping the skin clammy and acidic, catching dead skin, slaughtering organisms, and obstructing residue and bugs from entering the eardrum. So it's fundamentally something gross that keeps significantly grosser things from happening. Earwax is a blend of dead skin cells, different waxes and sebum, a similar slick release that develops, for instance, on unwashed hair. Cerumen is created by the eponymous ceruminous organs, likewise called apocrine organs, a specific perspiration organ that secretes fats and proteins. There are two sorts of earwax, wet and dry, and the sort you produce is resolved hereditarily. In any case, its excursion out of our ears is among the body's most unimaginable stunts, relocating cells. You could put an ink dab on the eardrum and watch it move over half a month, and it would be did by the development of the cells. As indicated by Professor Shakil Saeed at London's Royal National Throat, Nose, and Ear Hospital. Like earwax was effectively utilized in before civic establishments. Some pre-owned it as a treatment for stabbings, while others utilized it as a lip medicine, provoking the ever well-known pick-up line that is a dazzling shade of cerumen you're wearing. 4. Colostrum is gross. The whys. Colostrum what? I asked the attendant, one restless night eliminated from first-time parenthood. The attendant had said my significant other was sitting tight for her colostrum, which might have implied anything from an auntie I'd never met to another, fiber-driven brand of cereal. It was not one or the other. Colostrum is the principal bosom milk a lady's mammary organs produce, starting during pregnancy and proceeding through the initial barely any days after birth. A strong negative mark against the idea that making a life is excellent. Colostrum is a thick, regularly gooey substance whose brilliant yellow or orange shading originates from its significant levels of beta-carotene. Sadly for everybody aside from infant vampires, blood from the mother's milk channels can likewise accumulate, loaning a red, pink, or rust-shaded hue. Colostrum is an exceptionally important grossness, frequently called fluid gold. It is press-loaded with concentrated nourishment an infant requires. First-time moms regularly experience issues creating colostrum inadequacies or in an ideal manner. Actually, my child inevitably required clinic readmittance after supplement exhaustion left him jaundiced. Colostrum is as unappetizing emerging from a baby as it is going in. A characteristic diuretic, it assists infants with progressing from the underlying meconium phase of stool, which is dark, tar-like and moderately scentless, to a more slender, looser greenish earthy colored or greenish-yellow ejection, all the more befitting a drunkard transporter. Your chance to change the infant, dear. 3. Please don't compare a vital organ to a bowl of whipped cream. Ugh. I can't uncompose that, and now you can't unread it. Our lungs are gross on a totally unexpected level in comparison to yucky real discharges. They are strategic machines whose featherweight shakiness is whence commendable. The understanding that two indispensable, breath of nurturing things have the consistency of a dessert beating raises the stakes from net out to hairpiece out. It is, in a real sense, disrupting to the core. Dr. Catherine Dreger, an educator at Georgetown University's clinical school, as of late depicted the breathing cycle as a major aspect of a piece about COVID-19's effect on the lungs. At the point when we inhale, she composes, air goes through a progression of littler and littler lines at long last consummation in small cylinders not exactly a millimeter across called bronchioles. At the finish of each are groups of minuscule sacs called alveoli. The covering of every sac is meager to the point that air skims through them into the red blood cells. She at that point likens an existential organ to, well, non-presence. These great many alveoli are so delicate, that a sound lung has basically no substance. For every one of its detestations, in any event COVID makes for a sturdier, and similarly delicious, treat. Draeger clarifies that the COVID causes a sticky, yellow liquid called exudate to fill the air sacs. At the point when the basic number are immersed, the lung surface changes to something all the more looking like, and I quote, a marshmallow. Too foul-mouthed. The nauseating qualification of grossest spot on the human body probably has a place with the mouth. Soggy, multi-organed and in direct contact with the rest of the world, our mouths have all the makings of an unpalatable petri dish, essentially the journey boats of the human body. For starters, at some random second there are upwards of 1 billion microorganisms. On each of our teeth, great oral cleanliness practices can decrease that figure to as low as 1,000, a really astounding disparity. These microscopic organisms have around 700 assortments. Some are valuable, yet when the awful ones rally with salivation and food particles, the outcome is dental plaque, a clingy goop that gathers on teeth and under gums. Plaque at that point hardens into a store considered tartar that can cause enduring dental damage. The rest of the mouth is close to as awful, with our tongues another central guilty party. Once more, the issue is the mouth's novel status as a vast gap associated with both the rest of the world and the remainder of the body. Unsurprisingly, terrible microorganisms that start in the mouth can relocate somewhere else, including our minds. For instance, gum illness has been connected to rheumatoid joint pain and pneumonia, and other mouth ailments may improve the probability of creating dementia-related infections, for example, Alzheimer's. One going out with a bletch. Our bodies spare their most nauseating stunt for last, dead last. Soon after we take our final gasp, and even before we've voided our entrails, a fecal finale genuinely befitting the event, we in a real sense begin eating ourselves. Deterioration initiates only a couple of seconds after death with a cycle called ontolysis, or self-processing. Denied of oxygen by our once in the past pulsating hearts, our cells go through an abrupt spike in causticity as the harmful side effects of compound responses start to amass inside them. It gets grosser. Proteins begin processing cell layers and, as cells separate, bit by bit spill out. This normally starts in the liver, which is particularly catalyst-rich, and furthermore the mind, which has especially high water content. Our different tissues, even our lavishly whipped smooth lungs, rapidly go with the same pattern, as we become a rotting sack of poisonous gas spills. Harmed platelets pour out of broken vessels and, helped by gravity, get comfortable the vessels and little veins, staining the skin. Our gut microorganisms, by a wide margin the most productive aspect of our microbiome, at that point make the most of their grim last supper to our detriment. They digest our digestive organs from the back to front, at that point feast on nearby vessels. The lymph hubs, liver, hold the fava beans, and spleen are next. Meanwhile, our internal heat level drops, adapting to its environmental factors. The protein fibers actin and myosin, which permit our muscles to contract and unwind, run out of energy and solidify up. Thoroughness mortis sets in, beginning in the eyelids, jaw and neck muscles, before working its way into the center and appendages. Dirty, malodorous and solid, we leave this world as we entered it. Thank you.